check out the predictable escalating and de-escalating behaviors chart given to you in the pre-work section of this class, and take a moment to look over it. This handout was created by Dr. Bruce Perry. Pay particular attention to the predictable de-escalating behaviors and predictable escalating behaviors rows in the chart. These two rows describe how children and parents get wound up or are able to wind down. There's a lot of information here, so let's walk through it. Let's start with a row of states across the bottom. It lists a spectrum of possible emotional states that a child could be in, from calm to terror. The top rows show the adaptive response to each state. For instance, for a child who is fearful, flight is an adaptive response. The key for our purposes are the rows with predictable de-escalating behaviors and predictable escalating behaviors for the 5 different states. These show what we can do as parents or caregivers to help a child move from one state to the other. For instance, imagine that you just heard a crash from the other room. When you investigate, you find a child who has just broken something and is standing there, looking at the debris with a worried expression. What state do you think the child is in? Is that the adaptive response? Now look at the predictable de-escalating behaviors and predictable escalating behaviors rows in the freeze column. The de-escalating behaviors section lists things you as a parent or caregiver can do that will predictably calm and regulate the child and move the child to the alert or calm state. On the other hand, the escalating behaviors section lists things you might do that will predictably make the child more upset and move them to the fear or terror states. What emotional state do we want the child to be in so that we can deal with the breakage? We want to regulate the child by moving them from the alert state to the calm state. Going in the other direction will escalate the situation and make it harder for the child to use the thinking part of their brain. Based on this chart, what are some actions we as parents could take to regulate the child? The predictable de-escalating behaviors section tells us we can give invited touch, quiet, melodic words, singing or humming, and music. Based on this chart, what actions should we avoid because they would probably escalate the situation? The actions are listed in the predictable escalating behaviors section. Those actions are raised voice, raised hand, shaking finger, tone of voice, yelling, threats, and chaotic milieu. As you look over the whole chart, what do you notice children need most from their parent when they need help to wind down? Is it lecturing or being sent to their room? Is it a raised voice or hand? No. Children need their parent to remain with them, and most of all, to remain calm themselves and to help them become regulated. That's right. Getting wound up and escalating is contagious. Remember how when a domino falls down, the rest of them go down as well, and you cannot stop them all from falling. This is true here. The more escalated the parent, the longer the child stays escalated. We know that what will shut a child's brain down and put them in survival mode is another person in escalation mode. This can be communicated in words, tone of voice, or body language. Important to remember that children who have experienced trauma, separation, or loss are very attuned to body language. So even if you are saying right things, but your body language says something else, they will be much more likely to tune into your body language. The good news is that calming down can be contagious as well. That's why sometimes it matters less what we say in a stressful situation and more that we are present or just listen or sit calmly and kindly with someone. As you can see from the handout in our conversation on co-regulation, what will quiet the fear and help a child feel safe enough to begin to use the smart part of their brain, is another person using the smart part of their own brain. That's why they will need you so much. As you've heard today, hyper-aroused or dissociated responses help children to survive in unsafe and scary situations in the past, but can now lead to various problems if those responses are still being activated all the time. You can imagine how these kinds of behaviors will affect a child's ability to have positive relationships with others, so they will definitely need our support to walk through managing their feelings. Let's take a look at a video with Dr. Bruce Perry to start this discussion about how we can best help.